Okay, flare timing. Body position for flare. Well, we all know that the pendulum is what we just talked about. Steep slope launch. Okay, rather than running hard, get your nose down a little lower, and then just let gravity be your friend. So steeper places are really nice. When I went to Telluride, people were terrified. It's 12,000 feet you're launching from. They were terrified of it. And I'm looking at everybody and I'm going, well, where am I going to launch? And I look, here's the slope. Here's a nice steep spot off to the left. So I'm going over there. Other guys were launching on the flat part. I'm thinking, what are you doing?
Why? Yeah. Why did they go to the flat part? It doesn't make sense.
They didn't know any better. It looked like a good place to launch from. But I wanted to use the least amount of effort and take off the soonest I can. So I ran down that nice steep slope, and I said, glider feels like a flying glider. And I take off. So if you have a light touch, if you're pulling with your harness, then you can feel the glider and you can go, oh, this feels like a nice solid glider. You can feel it on your hang strap, you know. You can feel it, and then you just go, I think I'll take off. And actually, you don't need to be flying when it's nice and steep. There's plenty of places like the ramp at Dunlap. You know, you're running along, you're not really flying by the time you get to the end. You just drop a little bit and away you go. At Yosemite, you just drop a little bit and away you go. So it's that drop that gives you the speed that you need, that last little bit of speed. Just make sure that everything is looking good.
Slide and just dive off. I mean, that's pretty steep launch.
It is.
You just, I don't know. I think it's easy launch.
It is an easy launch.
Dive it off.
You're so right. And you don't need to dive it nearly as much as you would think. You just need to have the angle of attack low enough to where you can pick up your speed. Okay, keep flipping. Senses. We talked about using your senses and not having senseless accidents. Okay, glider picks you up. No, you take off when desired. Okay, people go, well, run until the glider picks you up. Glider doesn't know when to pick you up. There's no idea what to do. It's just a dumb glider. So you can set your angle of attack for wherever you want it, and if you've got the nose way low, heck, you're going to have to run like crazy, and the glider's never going to pick you up. If you hang on it, it's not going to pick you up. So then you shove out because you were worried about diving in. Okay, so you want to do something we call a decisive takeoff. So all of our hang ones have to be able to do a decisive takeoff before they get their hang one. The way we know that it's a decisive takeoff is we have them run for a normal takeoff, and then we note where they started or where they took off, and then I take my hat and I put it down another 10, 12, 15 feet. And I go, okay, start from right here, stay on the ground until you get at least to the hat. And if they're in the air, they can't decide when to take off, they just kind of, the glider picks them up. So I want them to be able to do what they need to stay on the ground, smoothly take off right after the hat. And the trouble is, I don't use my hat anymore because the guys were always stepping on it.
Like that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, well, all the rest of them got destroyed. Okay, let's see. So, glider picks you up. Nah, you pick yourself up. You just fly with the speed that you want. You take off when desired. If you can't tell, get your nose down low, run like hell, and hope for the best. So that's the old-fashioned technique. Level your wings. We know at Funston, when we take off there, if the winds cross, you don't have level wings. You basically bank the glider so that you defeat the one that's sticking out over the edge of the cliff, and then you're facing into the wind there, and you run that way for takeoff. And it looks weird.
You still run perpendicular to the cliff.
Yeah, I like that. Well, it's not so much a run because the wind's blowing.
Yeah.
Just take a few steps and drop a little bit, and away you go. And then the glider's banked, but a banked glider is not a big deal. You can do whatever you want to. If it's banking, you better do something about it. Okay, speed before takeoff. How much speed? I think that was the question. How do you get speed? Pull with your harness. Don't push the bar out in front of you. We know about the float speed. It wants to float pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much to get the glider floating, especially if you're going downhill. Okay, crosswind launch and landing, we didn't get into that too much, except that you point the glider into the wind to balance it, and then you run whatever direction you want. So I should have showed you guys a crosswind takeoff. They look pretty funny looking.
Crab launch.
Well, you know, we're all used to crabbing along the top of the ridge line. So it's really no different. It's just that you're running for takeoff. And if you have bad technique, if you're pushing the glider in front of you, ain't gonna work. It's gonna be bad. So instead, you pull with your harness, and then you can start doing crosswind takeoffs. Before that, don't even think of it. It's already bad enough. And you don't want to do light wind launches. You don't want to do flat slope launches because you can't feel, you can't tell. You're just lucky to get off each time. Okay, so crosswind launch and the crosswind landing. Basically, you just look where you want to go, fly there, and let the glider point whichever direction it wants to. Downwind landings, don't do downwind landings. If you are going to do downwind landings, do it uphill.
Yes.
Uphill downwind landing, you can get away with that. The only problem is that you need to use so much speed that somehow, you know, you're just thinking, this cannot be right. I'm flying right at this hill, and I'm flying really fast. Then you've got to be able to not just go, whoa.
Yeah. Sorry,
So, so there's a certain amount of commitment involved in doing an uphill landing anyway. And when it's downwind, then you're going even faster.
I was watching a YouTube vid of this. This is at 11. He took off from the He took off from the 1700 and he landed several times on the way down
Oh yeah,
on different knobs.
Yeah.
He did it just perfect. It was beautiful.
yeah. We used to do that for the Silent Air Show.
Oh, really?
All the guys in the shop, we would take off from the top and we would all land on the 6, and then we'd leave one person on the 6, and then everybody else would go and land on the 3, and then the guys from the 3 would then land on the 150, and then we'd have somebody landing on the 50, and then I would land on the spot. Okay. And then we'd say, okay, that's the landing on the side of the hill routine. Now we're going to show you how you learn how to fly. You start out by running with the glider on flat ground. So I'd run with the glider and push the nose up. And then, everybody look at the 50-foot hill. Then you start out by ground skimming. And then the next one, the guy would take a little flight. And then the next thing you do is do some gentle turns and fly at altitude. The guy would do that. And then flying off the 300-foot level, the guy would come out and do 180s. And then the guy would come out off the 600-footer and come out and do a 360. And so that was the routine. But it's fun to land on the side of a hill. I mean, it's a gas, big grassy hill. Guys at Big Sur do that all the time now.
Mm-hmm.
You bring along some food, and then everybody lands up there, and then everybody's sharing some food. And some people bring the drinks, other people bring sandwiches and fruit and all kinds of stuff. So you sit up there and have a picnic, and everybody takes off and flies down.
We used to do that same kind of landing at Juniper Ridge and top to Alba. Just scream in.
Oh yeah, Juniper's pretty nice and rounded there. I mean, steep too. That is one beautiful launch, huh? Okay, so do you guys have any questions about anything that we've been going over?
YouTube, you want us to watch hang gliding world record?
Yeah, hang gliding, world record, and then just watch the difference in the movement that he does, because I watched him one time flying at Marina during the Marina steeplechase, and he had this glider that was just totally tightened up, and so to be able to make it do what he wanted to, he had to really get on it. So the air wasn't very turbulent, but he was moving around a lot because he wanted to be able to have it respond when he wanted to. Yeah, it's a little counterintuitive.
Yeah, it is counterintuitive.
Yeah, so that's why when you watch somebody coming in for a landing and it's really turbulent, you'll see somebody just bouncing all around like this. It's because they wanted to respond quickly. And if you're just being still, it's not good. Because then you're behind the curve and the glider's not ready to respond.
First thing you land, the person says, "You're moving around too much on landing."
Tell me to bite you.
Okay. So let me
Your
tell you
nose is
about
too high.
let me tell you about landing at Dunlap. So I'm coming in to land at Dunlap, and it was kind of in the middle of the day, and it's behind those trees, and it's a turbulent spot. I'm coming in, and I do this landing, and I'm not really very happy with it. It wasn't very pretty. I kind of went skidding and skittering on in and coming in, and I touched one control bar, touched the corner of the control bar, and so I'm going, I don't like that very much. So I go walking on in, and these guys come up and go, "Wow, nice landing." And they say, "Well, what happened to the other guys?" And they go and they point, and there's a guy over there, and he's wrenching on taking off both down tubes. And then there's another guy putting duct tape on the broken ends of his leading edge. So that was the last two before I came in. So it could be that it just was nicer conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be that I was using my good technique so that I can then survive the nastiness. definitely I've seen that before. Had this guy Jeff Loynes who took a launch and landing clinic. His buddies bought it for him because he would go to the Owens Valley with 6 down tubes and he would come back with no down tubes.
But he was one of the best pilots around.
He was an excellent pilot. And so when he took the launch and landing clinic, we were out there at Ed Levin, which is kind of a lousy place to do it. But he comes flying on in. He's pounding in, and then he remembered to look ahead. And all of a sudden, he just makes this perfect landing. Just perfect. And he lets out this, ah! Because he realized that was the difference. Because he's a totally talented guy, so every landing after that on the training, it was just bang, 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 bang. And he never ended up having any bad landings. And he flew in some conditions that were horrible, and he still was able to keep from breaking stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have the good technique, if you got the flexibility, if you're focused on course, not just looking out ahead, but focus on course, all of a sudden you know at the earliest possible moment when it's time to do whatever it is. Time to flare. And you'll find that instead of having a flare moment, you'll have a flare window. So that's a concept, huh? Anybody who's been, finding a hard time even finding the moment, now there's a window where you can land. So if I'm flying and it's nice conditions, I'll be skimming on in for a landing, and I can land either right now or now. That's pretty. I've just covered 100 feet. So it makes it much easier.
Well, if you're trying to do spot landings, that would help out a lot.
There's times when you find yourself where you have to do a spot landing.
No choice.
I mean, you have to land on this spot because you're coming in for a landing at a bad place.
Curry Point. Remember that one?
Oh, hideous! I landed there and I just said, you know what? We shouldn't be landing here.
You miss the knob, you just keep.
Where's that?
It's Curry Point. It was this knob. It was the stupidest thing. We just didn't realize that was a bad place because there was stuff rolling up every different side, and I came in to land just missing the trees, and then I start climbing. I'm going, uh-oh, and I did manage to skid it on in and land before I get to the very top. Otherwise, I would have popped right over the top, and then it would have been like,
down in the canyon.
where the hell do I go now?
Just down.
At someplace, bushes, trees, mostly they're bushes.
Yeah, that's what rock.
You miss the rocks. So anyway, yeah, that kind of gives you an idea. Okay, so now you guys need more practice. And it helps if you have somebody else there. It helps if you put a GoPro camera on your glider and you can see what you're up to. So you really need to learn to be able to use your weight effectively and to be able to see what's going on at the earliest possible moment. So once you do that, then you'll find you can have good landings on a regular basis. Then you could be the guy that just skitters in instead of breaking both down tubes or hurting yourself or whatever. Okay, so you want to be able to look forward to your landings. We talked about that earlier. And you want to be able to go, this takeoff is going to be really fun. As opposed to, oh gosh, okay, anything else? Any questions? Anything else you guys know about? I think we're just about there. The sun's just pretty much down. So.
Yeah.